So now let's talk about life of Nichiren Daishonin part 4. In part 4, we will talk about the post Tatsunokuchi persecution journey of Nichiren Daishonin, in which we will talk about exile to Sado Island, what important Gosho Nichiren Daishonin wrote while he was in Sado Island, third demonstration, then shifting to Mount Minobu, and what important Gosho Nichiren Daishonin wrote when he was in Mount Minobu, and there is an important concept of the three great secret laws. Now, exile to Sado Island. So, Sado Island, I'll be discussing in two parts. Part one is from September 27 to January 1272. So, it's essentially a first 4 month period when Nichiren Daishonin shifted to Sado Island. Why specifically these 4 months? We will understand it when we will deep dive. Now, when they didn't able to execute Nichiren in Tatsunokuchi persecution, then and everyone ran away, and everyone was not. No one is ready to persecute to execute Nichiren Daishonin. Then they send him to a very far away and deserted area called Sado Island, and no one has technically came alive from that place of Sado Island. So it was technically giving someone an equivalent to Kala Pani Saza. And he started living in Sado Island from November 1st, 1271. Do you remember September 1271, when Tatsunokuchi persecution happened? Just after few months, they pondered over what to do with Nichiren Daishonin, and then finally they decided, then let's send him to an exile to Sado Island. On January 16th and January 17th, 1271, again an attempt to kill Nichiren was made at Sado Island, wherein hundreds of Buddhists were gathered and they wanted to kill Nichiren Daishonin. However, they were somehow convinced to get on a religious debate. However, in religious debate, ultimately Nichiren refuted the erroneous teaching thoroughly, and the large gathering of Buddhists has to do away with their plan to kill, because they were get bowed down by Nichiren Daishonin. And this debate is known as Tsukahara Debate. Now, Nichiren continued to stay in the Sado Island, and one of the major follower, Nikko Shonin, we will uh, talk about this name again and again in the upcoming videos as well. And this is the one name which we recite as one of our morning one of the prayer, as part of the prayer as well. So Nikko Shonin was one of the follower of Nichiren Daishonin, and he stayed with Nichiren Daishonin during Sado Island as well, and he remained at his side throughout the exile. A few important goshos were written in Sado Island. There is a one very important gosho called Opening of the Eyes. Opening of the Eyes is very important. Why is it important? Because it is the gosho in which Nichiren Daishonin clarified the object of devotion in terms of person. In Opening of the Eyes, Nichiren revealed his identity as a Buddha of the latter day of the law, endowed with three virtues of sovereign, teacher, and parent, to lead all people in later stage to enlightenment. So, the reason this Gosho is considered as significant is because this is for the first time Nichiren Daishonin, through documentary evidence, communicated to the followers about revealing his identity as a true, um, the identity as a Buddha of the latter day of the law. And it was written in February 1272. In On April 1273, another important Gosho, the object of devotion for observing the mind, was written. And in this Gosho, Nichiren Daishonin clarified the object of devotion in terms of the law. So there are object of devotion in terms of the person, there is object of devotion in terms of the law. Object of devotion in terms of the person, Nichiren Daishonin clarified that he is the Buddha of the latter day of the law, and object of devotion in terms of the law is nothing but Namyoho Renge Kyo. And now, once um, uh, once the Sado Island exile got completed and he was pardoned, And in March 1274, he came back to Kamakura. And as soon as he came back, he again confronted Haino Simon Nojo, one of the influential person in the authority. And again, he understood that his life was always at risk. He was given multiple exile. He was being attempt to kill directly, indirectly has been done. But nonetheless, he again confronted them and unequivocally refuted the true word school. Again, Nichiren predicted that the Mongol invasion is something that is going to get happen, and it is very imminent. And he claimed that in Mongol invasion will happen by the end of the year itself. This event is known as the third demonstration. So, if you remember, we will talk about the three demonstration in detail. First demonstration we talked about was when he wrote the first treatise, Risho AnkokuRon. Second demonstration was a period between September 10th and September 12th, 1271, when Nichiren, during the interrogation, confronted courageously without any fear authorities, and ultimately that led to Tatsunokuchi persecution and his exile. And this is the third demonstration when, after the exile, when he came back, he again reached out to authorities and told them the imminent danger of Mongol invasion, and that is going to happen within that year itself. And finally, it actually happened in October 1274. So these are the three particular demonstrations that happened. First demonstration, second demonstration, and third demonstration. Why they are important? Because in Risho AnkokuRon, Nichiren Daishonin wrote that if the correct teaching is not established in the on the land, then two internal strife and foreign invasion is something that is going to happen. Internal strife happened within 150 days of Tatsunokuchi persecution, and now in October 1274, Mongol invasion also happened. So both the prediction actually became a reality, right? Now, nonetheless, even after repeated demonstration, military government was not paying heed to him, and finally Nichiren Daishonin decided to move away from Kamakura. In May 1274, Nichiren Daishonin moved from Kamakura to Mount Minobu, and the purpose of moving to Mount Minobu was to continue to propagate and be in touch with his disciple through writings and to foster disciples for the Kosunrufu. Um, do you remember we talked about Nikko Shonin, the disciple, the follower of Nichiren Daishonin, who stayed with him during Sado Island time as well, and the person to whom we pay our gratitude during silent prayers as well, right? He was the person who, while Nichiren Daishonin moved to Mount Minobu, this time around, he, instead of moving with Nichiren Daishonin, he moved to Fuji district to propagate Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. And Mount Minobu is also very significant. Multiple important goshos came from Mount Minobu when he was residing there. So the goshos, like the selection of the time, on repaying debts of gratitude, and most importantly, there is one particular term which we pray, as it is part of our silent prayers also, which we call the three great sacred laws, that was also pronounced during his stay at Mount Minobu. So what are the three great secret laws? Do you know? So the three great secret laws are object of devotion, of the essential teaching, which is nothing but Gohonzon; sanctuary of the essential teaching, that is the place where you chant; and the daimoku of the essential teaching, which is Namyo Horenge Kyo. So combining Namyo Horenge Kyo, Gohonzon, and the place where we are chanting, the place where Gohonzon is placed, and where we sit and chant, that place, chanting, and the object of devotion, all three combined is called three great secret laws. So, uh, I'm sure this is for the fourth time you are seeing the timeline, but let's quickly go through it because it's very critical. So, Nichiren Daishonin was born on February 16, 1222 in our province. He always wanted to solve the problem of people suffering, and for that reason he determined to become the wisest person in Japan. And to that intent, he, at the age of 12, he entered into Buddhist school Sechoji temple. his seeking spirit was so strong that within 4 years he was given a priesthood under a senior priest named Dozenbo. After a lot of research, lot of going and meeting multiple schools, studying, on April 28, 1253, when he was 32-year-old, he proclaimed Namyo Renge Kyo as a supreme teaching. After that, he started propagating Namyo Renge Kyo, and he made Kamakura as his base. On August 1257, a very major earthquake happened at Kamakura that made Nichiren Daishonin uh, pondered over the way to propagate Buddhism, and he understood that to really create an impact, he need to reach out to authorities and make them understand the why all this earthquake and invasion and internal strikes are happening. To that intent, he wrote a letter, his first treatise, um, Risho AnkokuRon, that is and he submitted it on July 16th, 1260. This is called first remonstration because this is for the first time Nichiren Daishonin directly confronted authorities. Then, after this particular first remonstration, a series of persecution and exile started. Matsuba Gyatso persecution happened when Nembutsu followers barged into his house and tried to kill him. He was able to escape unharmed. Then he left Kamakura. As soon as he came back to Kamakura, he was sent to Izo exile, where he stayed for almost 2 years. And after that, when he came back, after some time, a Komutsubara persecution happened when an attempt to kill him was made by samurais, in which he did get some injuries, and one of the followers also got killed. Um, and then uh, ultimately he was able to uh, came out of it and didn't get killed at that point of time. And then Mongol invasion threat started looming over Kamakura and over entire Japan. Mongol sent a letter to the Kamakura government that become part of Mongol Empire or get perished. And in summer of 1271, natural calamities happen. In both the scenario, instead of getting advice from Nichiren Daishonin, they continued to rely on Ryokan, one of the highly respected priest. However, he was very arrogant. On face, he will look very, he will always smile. He will always be a trustworthy person. But behind the scene, he was a person who was actually was trying to kill or try to plot to kill Nichiren Daishonin. Ultimately, on September 10th, Nichiren Daishonin was taken from his home and he was interrogated. And during this interrogation, Nichiren Daishonin confronted very courageously the authorities. This is known as second remonstration. And ultimately, on September 12th, he was arrested and marked as a traitor. And he was taken outside Kamakura to be here to behead. However, as soon as the executioner raised the sword, a large orb of light came from the sky, and everyone got scared and ran away. When they couldn't able to kill Nichiren Daishonin directly or indirectly, then they sent him to exile to Sado Island on November 1st, 1271. A lot of interesting incident happened. Even ultimately, a lot of incidents happened during Sadhu Island, Tsukahara debate, and trying to attempt to kill Nichiren Daishonin by the other Buddhist sect scholars. A lot of interesting go shows, opening of the eyes, where Nichiren Daishonin for the first time um, talked about the object of devotion from the point of view of the person, which is he first of all first time revealed through letter that he is the Buddha of the letter of the law, and the object of devotion for observing the mind, where the object of devotion from the point of view of law, which is Namyo Rengekyo, was written by Nichiren Daishonin. He completed Sado Island on February 1274, and as soon as he came back, he again remonstrated with the authorities and told them that in case you don't pay a heed, then Mongol invasion going to happen within that year. And ultimately, it happened. So all the prediction that Nichiren Daishonin made during Risho AnkokuRon treatise came about, and finally Kamakura and moved to Mount Minobu. Um, and in Mount Minobu also he wrote a lot of interesting and important gosho like Selection of the Time and Three Great Secret Laws. And while Nikko Shonin, who was with him during Sado Island, this time around he started propagating on a standalone basis Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism, and he moved to Fuji district, Atsuhara area. So this is it. Thank you so much. And now we are at the end of the life of Nichiren Daishonin. We will talk about Atsuhara persecution and the last few years of Nichiren Daishonin. So thank you so much.